I think you enjoy this movie more than I do, but we're going to talk about The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, as the bad guy says.
But I don't have much good to actually to go into this movie. I don't have much good listed on this. I think one of my favorite things, honestly, one of my favorite things about it was the music. I really, really dug the score. I thought the score was really good. It was the same guy. Let's see. I think I got it pulled up here. But it was the guy that did Trevor Jones, and he did Last of the Mohicans.
Wow, did he?
Yeah, he did Last of the Mohicans, Mississippi Burning. There was another one I saw that was Labyrinth. So I'm like, yeah, he's
Dark
done.
Crystal? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
he's
he was
done.
the composer?
Hmm. Yeah, he
I
is
was thinking, what was that? What was the other movie you mentioned? The big movie you mentioned?
Labyrinth,
No, a couple ones before
Last
that.
of the Mohicans.
Yeah, I was thinking it was somebody else who did that.
Let's see. Let me
Weird.
pull that back up.
I mean, I
Yeah.
believe you, but I just thought it was because that is one of the most amazing soundtrack scores ever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So he.
No, good job, him, because those are
Yeah.
some really Name of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, the Dark Crystal, which again, that Last Mohicans, the Siberian, these are some great Excalibur. These are
Mm-hmm.
some great musical scores. I love musical soundtracks sometimes. I'll put them on in the background while I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
And wow, yeah, wow. I totally, yeah. That's one of the good things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the characters though?
I did not really dig the characters all that much, and the reason being was because even though like I know who these characters are, like I know who Captain Nemo is, I know who the
Right.
Invisible Man is.
Mhm.
The Lady Vampire wasn't. I'm like, okay, I don't really know. She might have just been created for that particular thing. Tom Sawyer, obviously, I know that story, but it was more so of I could see these characters and I knew them from their backstory in terms of like, okay, I've seen these people, I've read their books and stuff like that. It's like I've seen that before. That's how I know them, but that's all I really get from them. I don't get a lot of in terms of like something that's going to make me latch on to these characters. Not a whole lot. Invisible Man was kind of funny. I thought I like that, but for the most part, it was like there's so much intrigue that is set up, but it doesn't seem to go anywhere. It's like, yeah, okay, you're setting up some kind of interesting backstory here. Let's see what the character progression is going to be like. You don't really have any. It's like, okay, it's just.
Well, I was gonna say,
Mhm.
I think this was a movie to introduce the characters. I think more so than a proper story, because if you think about it, they all kind of had their own kind of introduction, and that was most
Mhm.
of the film.
Mhm.
They actually introduced and they showed the characters I mean, not like the character development, but who they were and what
Yeah.
they kind of did and kind of where they fit. They
Mhm.
tried to cram a story in there too, which didn't really work. But
Mhm.
I will say, I knew nothing about the whole story going into it. I just thought, oh, so it looks like an interesting kind of superhero-ish type, interesting type take on the movies, kind of like Watchmen or something. Again,
Right.
I
Right.
don't know much about it, but I was like, okay, let's check it out.
Mhm.
Um, I liked each individual character in that they all contributed something. They were interesting characters that I did want to learn more about,
Mhm.
and they did kind of show what they were about. They showed the goods and the bads, like with Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. They showed the
Uh-huh.
goods and the bad. I think Captain Nemo kind of was the same thing. Was like um,
If his
he was
checkered past and everything, yeah.
say what?
His because he has a checkered past in terms of,
Yeah, and that's
piracy and stuff like
and
that.
then like the Dorian Gray guy,
Mhm.
which he's complicated. Which again, I think everybody played their roles really well.
Yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give him
It's
that. It was just like
it's it's I think like I told you before we started, it's like this is a movie that you can pull up clips and watch and go, well, that was actually really good. You're like, oh, that's
Mhm.
clever. Oh, that's interesting. But when you put it all together, it's a mess.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like the parts are better than the sum of the whole, in my opinion. Because I'll go back and watch some of those scenes. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It's like, oh wow, how they did that. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the same time, as soon as the movie started, I already knew who the bad guy was, and I kind of saw where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was interesting how they used. I liked the time period because it, in my opinion, that's kind of a time period that they don't really do a lot with in terms of films and movies and whatnot. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they don't talk about that Victorian, Elizabethan era type time period
Mm-hmm.
as much. I mean, other than like talk about British Empire movies and the
Sherlock
colonizing Africa or
Holmes.
something.
Yeah.
It's like, or the Belgian Congo, and kind of throwing in the African Queen with Catherine Hepburn or whatever. I mean, they kind of do those kind of pre Casablanca-esque type films,
Mm-hmm.
like Alan Portermean and things like that, because that's one of the characters in the movie. But so that sort of, I don't know, that kind of pioneerish type thing outside the United States. Of course, the United States did it with a lot of westerns, but this one that I liked, it was set in that kind of time period of just before World War One. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, that's something different, something interesting. You had the machine guns, which of course now this is kind of a cyberpunkish type film with the submarine and the kind of the machine guns and things like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
I think.
liked how they
Yeah.
set
Go
up
ahead.
all the characters. I liked how they all fit a role that did something
Mm-hmm. They weren't useless
specific.
characters that
Yeah,
what you would say like with like Suicide Squad. It was just like what do you it's like okay, you got the guy that throws the boomerang, and you got a guy like a
right,
girl
right,
that's
right.
crazy with a giant hammer. I'm like, okay. It's like, whereas these guys, like, you can kind of these people
These people
they
had
had
skills that
skills
were
that were
unique to that
useful
person and their
exactly
character,
for the
and they
mission
all
that they
had
were on.
their own moments, basically.
Hmm.
And I got to say, like, for example, when you meet Dorian Gray and the bad guys show up, that was kind of cool. I mean, that whole action scene was actually kind of cool, I
Hmm.
thought. Um, so it's just, again, it's those where those scenes are interesting. Is like you see the guy take, like a full clip of machine gun fire and then just heal, and then he cuts
Hmm.
the guy down with a sword. And you're like, what? So when you first see that, you're like, wait a minute. Oh, but I mean, that's of course if you don't already know the story of Dorian Gray.
Hmm.
But if you did, you're like, oh man, that is actually a good idea. He's like, oh, I'm a guy who basically can't die because
Hmm.
because my painting keeps me young and basically immortal as
Hmm.
long as the painting is you know
Right.
secure and you don't look at it.
Right.
So it's kind
And
of a weird thing, but it's kind of, see, that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of cool.
hmm.
It sounded, I think it was an issue of it sounded better, but also that they tried to bite off more than they could chew because they were trying to, and that's the thing with some of the, say, the more recent Star Wars movies, for example, is like having too many characters in the film.
Hmm.
You can't, with a Suicide Squad, you can't do but so much
Hmm.
unless you cram it into like a total of 4 hours or make it a series or something. You
Right.
could do it if it was a series on, like TV or Netflix or something.
Hmm.
Um, then you could slowly introduce each character.
Hmm.
So that's what I was thinking. So, but I liked it, like I said, more than you did in terms of, I just went in it as, this is something I've not seen or really experienced. It's
Hmm.
like an independent comic kind of thing.
Right. Right.
It was outside the normal Marvel DC kind of thing.
I think DC bought them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's why I didn't do well. There you go.
Can't blame Warner Brothers this time. This was a Fox movie, so
Yeah. But
um,
I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't hate this film. I don't
oh, I
think
don't
it's
either. I don't
horrible.
either. Yeah.
I know it lost a ton of money.
Hmm.
Um,
And Sean Connery quit acting because of it. The director quit
yeah,
directing because of it, and it was like, wow,
like, whoa, what
wow.
happened there?
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
I would say like one of the other good things that I did enjoy was the Invisible Man effects. I thought
Hmm.
that was really cool. Like how they were actually how they
Right.
did him, and like he's painting the face on and everything. I'm just like, that that's probably the best effect in the movie, probably,
Mhm.
because everything else you can really tell, like, okay, this is really CGI here. But
Right.
for him, I was just like, oh, I dig that. I think that's one of the better effects of the movie. I like the costumes. I think costumes are good.
Yeah.
The sets when they were real, like the real sets that they were on. This particular one is from the ship, but those sets, I
Mhm.
think they looked really cool. They were really beautiful.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, I dug that. I dug the setting and everything. Time period. I thought the time period was really cool. It was
Well,
just uh,
actually, if you go back to that picture, was that's
sure.
one of the things I thought was cool. Like you said,
Hmm.
it's like you're on a submarine, but you have a a ballroom or a boardroom with like it looks like marble columns. It's like there's so much wrong with that, but I love it. It's like you see that's I'm like, why do you have a marble room on a submarine? Yeah, and these crazy metal ornate chairs and this big crazy
Hmm.
oak desk. It's like, and then of course you have this. Then you have that giant car in the submarine as well. Like
Yeah.
I love that. It's so wrong and crazy, but it's right at the same time. It's like I
Is the
see
right
that.
amount of silly for you?
Yes, like,
And
what?
that's probably what it was. It was just like it just wasn't that right amount of silly, for me, where it was just like, this is something that's happening, but it's just like there wasn't enough character development for me to be involved. You mean to be heavily involved in any of the characters? As like I understood Alex Quartermain, that Sean Connery's character. I understood him to a certain degree, but it was kind of like like I understand, like, okay, he was a good soldier for the Queen. And then his son-in-law died, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore." But it kind of been like, okay, so, but it's like, all right, I know son-in-law died, but what happened though? It
Right.
was just kind of like it just kind of mentioned in passing, and we're supposed to just kind of go with it. I was just kind of like, I'm not digging it. I'm not digging it too much. Obviously, he wasn't either. And I look on his face. It's like, why am I even here? but
Right.
um,
So, oh
but
yes, I've got more commitments in my life.
uh, but
Got to be this.
so, and it was like, okay, they were setting up Tom Sawyer to kind of be like his, kind of his replacement as that that leader. But it was kind of like, okay, but what are you really replacing? Like, what do we
Right.
really know about Alex, Quartermain? It's like, what do we really know about him where Tom Sawyer could pick up the mantle and take that and go with it? It's like, what do you really know? And I was like, not a whole lot. It's just like, he's done some stuff in the past. He's legendary. He's old now, and he's leading this team. That's as
Right.
much as far as they kind of go with it. It's kind of like, it's basic. It's not like there's a lot of like it's a convoluted plot. It's definitely not. It's just trying
Right.
to.
Well, but you also he's a hunter.
Mhm.
He understands, um, kind of obviously he's the brains or architect, basically the leader kind of thing, and he kind of can sort of see how things are. Again, as the hunter, he's kind of like, well, it's a hunter. If you're hunting, sort of, I don't know, a person or game or something with, that's cunning. He's the cunning guy to
Mhm.
say, well, let's do this. Like when he's hunting the Mr. Hyde guy,
Right.
he's
Right.
like, okay, this is how you got to do it,
Mhm.
and of course teaching the kid how to shoot and whatever, but also understanding is like, how to think ahead. I think a
Mhm.
little bit, you know what I mean, a master plan kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I mean, mostly it's I guess reputation since he's like his reputation precedes him or something.
Mhm.
Um, so you got that, of course, the father figure kind of a
Yeah.
thing too. You got
Of
that going
course.
on.
Of
But like I
course.
said, I think that's why it was more the movie to introduce everybody as a character to say,
Mhm.
well, these are the characters and here's what they sort of can do,
Mhm.
and then try to cram all that into a reasonably runtime movie. That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, as there was, because like I said, there were a lot of them. The I think one of the main storytelling issues that I had with it was the overall villain's plan. and it was, like, I get, the arms deal, trying to make all these weapons, get everyone trying to buy them, and have everyone kind of like fighting for this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, I get that, I understand that, but there was also to make these quote unquote soldiers that were, based off the powers of the extraordinary gentleman and gentle lady. And and I was looking at this and I'm like, wait, you could have, why did you bring them together? And this is the same problem I had when I was watching Avengers with Loki. It was like, your plan was to get them together to do this? Like, that's
Right.
the like Tony Stark said, not a good plan. Like, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. Now I
Right.
understand, I would say, like, the one thing I would understand is getting Quartermain to hunt down, to help capture Mr. Hyde. I
Mhm.
definitely understand that, because like he's somebody that could probably be really good at that. It's like, and maybe that's the way you probably could have introduced introduced him, is like, instead of trying to stop World War I, which unfortunately happened anyway, but instead of trying to stop World War I, it could have been, hey, there's this guy. He's real. We're having a lot of trouble with him. He's left the country, and like he's kind of out of our jurisdiction, and he's terrorizing, Europe. Can you help us get him and capture him? I'm like, okay, you can kind of go with that a little bit, and then let that kind of branch off into like introducing, the other characters, and maybe focus on, because I like Hyde's character. Like Hyde's character, Dr. Jekyll. I like his
Mhm.
character.
Yeah.
It was just like stuff that was introduced with him, but I'm just like, man, I just, there's not enough time with you because there's so many other people in here.
Mhm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so like that, I think that's just mainly one of the main issues. It's just like there's too many people. The I will say, uh, if for this movie, I would say probably pick one, and this one would probably be Dorian Gray, because he's the one that turns on everyone. But it was like, you kind of got two immortals here. You have the vampire lady, and then you have Mina, and then you have Dorian Gray. It was kind of like, you don't need both of them. They're both immortal. So it's kind of like, you don't really need both of these people in here to kind of to do anything. I would say pick one or the other. Like I said, I would probably choose Dorian over Mina, just because he's the one that kind of does the double cross and everything.
Mhm.
So, um,
Well, you didn't have to have her for when she turned into bats and like hit all the sniper guys in I
that's
think it was
true.
Venice or something. So you
Hmm.
needed her for that. Also, I think you needed her because since you did have Dorian Gray, who was immortal, you had to have the opposite immortal to counteract his kind of thing. Because if not, then how do you even do that? Because I mean, you can't really, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
You'd have to get the painting somehow.
Right.
Um, so somebody could have done that, I guess.
That could have been, what's his name? The Invisible Man, Skinner.
Sure, yeah, I guess it
Yeah.
could have been. Um,
Uh, Snipers,
but
however, I mean, that's a whole different story. I mean,
right,
that's a
but that's the thing. You're creating a character for a plot thing, not the other way around.
right,
Um,
right.
but personally, man, I think the world has not enough Peta Wilson in it. To be honest, I think she's a multi-ball because she was in the show right before that, La Femme Nikita, the USA series, I believe it was,
Oh, that was
based off
her.
the French. Yeah, based
Oh,
off the
okay.
French movie.
Okay.
Um, and I just think the world needs more of her on screen because she's just I think awesome. She's one of those I think unappreciated actresses that I don't know. It's like you've seen her in stuff,
Hmm.
but she's never done enough. But you're like, but she's good. You're like, oh, when
She
I
is
see
good.
her, or you see that, you know what I mean? You've seen those actors. You're like, why are they doing more? Because they're really good at what they do.
Mhm.
But then again, it's like there are some actors who are only kind of supporting characters and are good at that. I
Mhm.
guess I don't know, but that was on for what 4 years. So that was a
Mhm.
La Femme Nikita again, which was based off of the movie of the same name.
Mhm. I saw
So
the movie. I did see some of the series, but I wasn't able to like kind of keep up with it. I didn't know that was her though. That's awesome.
yeah,
Um,
the movie was French. I think it was Anne Perot. I think she was also a vampire type movie as well, which is kind of weird. It was kind of a crossover. It's like, wait a minute, you got got two characters who both play a vampire and the Left Hand Nikita character. That's just weird.
Well,
It's even more weird than the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. But there you have it.
yeah, and I
But
think I would say I don't think anyone really did. Also to that same degree, the guy that played, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy that played Moriarty or
mm,
Mr. M, the guy that played him actually was in Sherlock Holmes, and he was also in Van Helsing.
yep,
So yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I was like, oh, but I don't think anyone did like a bad job, like as far as like their acting or anything like that. It's like I think they played well into the roles. It was just like the role didn't offer much to them.
right.
That's probably where I would probably say it was just like it's kind of like um even though that's a terrible movie, the X Men Origins Wolverine, where it's like
Mhm.
okay, you've got some good actors, they're good at what they're doing. It's just you didn't give them anything to do. It's just but
Right.
in the case of Origins Wolverine, it was much worse because like you literally didn't give them anything to do. Like they were
Yeah.
just there to show off like their powers real quick, and then they were gone. So whereas this one's like you said, and like they're actually useful to the sequence of events that's going on and everything. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's just it's a basic plot, which is welcome for it because you do have so many characters. So like it's basic plot, too many people probably introduced. Probably could have done with a simpler story.
Right.
Probably still could have introduced everyone, but maybe just some people are just really side characters, and then you can explore them in another movie versus to have them all try to share screen time in this movie. It didn't work, and wound
Well,
up.
maybe the a different kind of storyline and a plot would have been, someone contacts Quartermain to say there's something going on in the government or something in the British government, let's say, and there's something going on in the world politics or something like that, let's say, and they're trying to, I don't know, keep it, quiet, keep it, whatever, hush it up, cover it up, whatever. And then maybe he goes around and kind of recruits these people on his own to say, you know, um, well, the crown is in need of our assistance, sort of thing,
Mhm.
And so have it is again, it's kind of like my take on the Rey story from Star Wars, right? From the last few things we'll talk about here in a minute, but
Mhm.
have it naturally germinate from inside the character and go like, I like the Empire, and the Empire's done well for me in terms of the British Empire, not the
Yeah.
Star Wars Empire. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I like this. This is a good thing, and no, that's not good. And if it's messed up, then it means these people that I like and care about are going to be messed up. I don't like that either. So naturally, I'll go, well, I need to get to the bottom of this. And so then he kind of leads the way and starts, as the hunter he is, and he kind of sees things and kind of puts things together and go, huh. So then he kind of discovers these people and then runs across that. And then as he's trying to do it and he starts recruiting them, he starts to run into more resistance because people are kind of discovering what he's trying to do to get these people together. And they're worried not that they know what he's going to do with them, but well, that could create a problem to this whatever master plan is. And I think, but then you'd have to do that over probably several movies to recruit a few people, and then and then maybe say maybe one of those people gets turned. It could be Dorian, but I don't know. I personally think Dorian would have been a better character not to be the bad guy, but I don't know. Um, in some ways, it would have been better maybe to have the vampire character be the bad guy. And I know it's kind of on the nose, but
Mhm.
I just think vampires make better bad guys. I guess I don't know.
That's true.
Because again, you know, I don't know. Yeah. So now I'd say this is a good movie to put on like on a Saturday, cold, rainy Saturday afternoon. You don't want to do anything. You want to take a nap. It's kind of a fun movie to do that too. Kind of
Mhm.
sit back with your hot cocoa, with a cat snuggled up on you and just your blanket and just chill and just relax. Because you don't have to think about it. There's nothing to think about. It's
There
just kind
isn't.
of yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not much to think about. You don't have to, invest a lot of like thought process into it, or maybe be amazed at the interesting character, developments and the I don't know the intricacies of each person's, motivations or whatever. It's just like, oh, it's kind of fun, and oh, there's some interesting things, and some stuff blows up, and oh, the guy's immortal. That's kind of fun, and oh, this guy is she's sort of a vampire. That's kind of weird. Um,
Speaking of stuff that blew up, what was that string on top of the rocket, or that was attached to the rocket that the that Moriarty blew in the beginning of the movie when he's attacking where the was it the hydrogen like dirigibles or whatever are, and he shot the rocket, and the rocket had like a string attached to it, and he was like turning the thing, and it was like almost guiding it. I was like, I don't think you can
like,
do that. Do you
yeah,
remember?
it could have been like a tow missile kind of a thing. The tow missile has that optical wire behind it so
Mm,
like he's kind of fly by wire, I guess. So
okay.
it's kind of like your early tow missile, because the tow missile has you fire it, and it has like a little TV thing, you control it. So I guess that's what that was.
Okay, so that is
So,
an actual thing. I was just like, what is? I was wondering what the heck that was. I was like, what?
right.
How are you? Because it looked like he was, like I said, it looked like he was like just turning the actual rocket launcher. He was turning it, and it was actually like pointing like
Right.
where the thing should go. And I was like, huh. Although I don't know why you would need that, because I mean, like that's those the
Yeah.
dirigibles are
Just
huge to
shoot the thing. It's like if you can't hit
yeah.
that, you're in trouble. And I would also say probably not the best plan to shoot like a rocket in a giant thing full of explosive loadable
Yeah.
gas.
Hmm.
Maybe that's more of a timer bomb thing. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's you thought that one through. And the other thing about, like I said, in terms of the bad guy or whatever, and like you said, why would he get everybody together
Hmm.
to do that? Why not just send, somebody to go collect these things? Because again, then you wouldn't even need Alan Quartermain. He didn't really give anything to that. You wouldn't need anything from Tom Sawyer, because he wouldn't, because all you
Exactly.
need was the vampire. You would need, and again, Dorian can't contribute anything to that. You would need Dorian, because
Exactly.
there's nothing he could contribute, because that's his is kind of magical with the painting. So
Yeah.
really, you only need the
Yeah.
Invisible Guy, the Vampire Girl, and then Dr. Jekyll's
Hmm.
formula.
Right.
That's
Right.
it. You
Yeah.
you wouldn't need Nemo's stuff either. So you would burn it down to basically three
Okay.
essential characters.
No, okay. I thought that was funny. Was Nemo's whole contribution to this whole thing was just like uh Dorian took pictures of his ship, and I'm just like, did you take pictures of the ship, hand it to engineers, and we're just like, hey, make this? Like, wait a minute, I don't think that's how that works. It's like, as an engineer, you can't just give me a picture of something, and be like, make this. I'm like, I might need a little more information than that. I'm just putting that out there. Just a little bit more information. Uh, but I mean, they made it. I mean, hey, they did it somehow. They made like what 7, 8 of them or something like that. I'm like, they did it. Yes,
Right.
they must have had the most brilliant minds in the world. So I guess they did it. But yeah, I can see that. It's just like, a movie that's on in the background. I probably wouldn't say that for me. It would probably be just like, I'd watch it if someone else is watching it, but I wouldn't actually like kind of go out my way to be like, just if I saw it on, I would skip over it. I'd do something else.
I will say I like the beginning more than the rest of the film. I
Hmm.
like the first part probably up till they introduce, yeah. So I like the part up until right after they ran across, and I didn't really understand that point. It's like once everybody gets together and they meet Dorian Gray, and they basically got the whole crew together. I didn't really understand why Moriarty showed up there. Now I'm assuming Tom Sawyer was sort of the monkey wrench in the works, because he wasn't expected to be there,
Hmm.
but he didn't really contribute or take away anything other than he shot a lot with his Winchesters. Um, but it just seemed to me that the guy didn't, I don't know, he showed his hand early on, but for no apparent reason.
Right, right.
I don't know. I didn't really get it. Unless that's where he was trying to get the thing,
Trying to get their
get
powers
the dog,
early.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it just seemed he didn't show up with enough guys, knowing how strong these guys were. It's
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I mean, because he already knew Dorian Gray, which again, if he was on his side, that's great. Have Dorian.
Hmm.
turn with them, not be one of them, and then have to
Right.
fight off his own henchmen and kill his own henchmen, which is weird. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so that just seemed odd to me. It's like,
Hmm.
why not invite them to Dorian's house as a trap and then catch them and then
Hmm.
take their stuff or
Hmm.
whatever? Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things like that, just like the police are too stupid to move out of the way of a, of a tank. And I don't know where
Right?
it's just like,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, that's they bullets won't penetrate the armor, but a horn, what was that, a rhino horn would. And it was just like, they stabbed him with a rhino horn. I'm like, okay. I mean, I knew it was like I was getting into like a silly popcorn kind of movie.
Right.
It just wasn't silly enough for me to actually, to get so much involved or whatever. So it might be the right kind of silly for or just like the right kind of popcorn movie for a lot of people because uh, uh, when the movie was over, I happened to glance at the stars that were on Amazon, and it's 4.5 stars rated by the users. So I'm like, huh, well, a lot more people, a lot more people dig it than I do. So, um, but yeah,
Well,
well,
no, it's not good by any stretch of the imagination. But like I
mhm,
said, there are scenes that I'll watch, like that scene, when they're in the library at the Dorian Gray's house, is
mhm,
is interesting, is fun. It's
mhm,
fun.
mhm,
Um, and of course, Sean Connery is always great. I mean, I think he's always good in pretty much everything I've seen him in. So,
mhm.
um, and it's again, the idea is interesting.
Yes, a very novel idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So, but it just didn't. Again, the bits are good. The whole is not.
mhm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I said everyone was. I said I don't think the act. I think the actor was pretty solid, except for the one guy that drank the formula.
Right.
He was getting everything. He was ready. He was like, ah! He was getting his paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I was like the acting was good. It was just like they just didn't have much to work with. But I'm surprised they haven't had a do over just yet, but who knows? Like, the last I heard about it was like back in like 2015 or so. They were talking about doing a TV series, but um, that was before Disney bought Fox. So who knows what's going to happen with that now? It might go back to Warner Brothers. They may do something with it. I don't know.
Well, like
But
I said, I think it would work better as a series on
mm,
on Prime or Netflix or some other, just because you could introduce the characters, and have the characters do their own thing, and
mhm,
maybe even the characters, let's say, the storyline is similar where someone is trying to get something from the characters, and let's say the characters, discover it in their own way, and then
mhm.
they kind of go, whoa, and so then that kind of leads them all to kind of run across each other's paths. You know how they typically do stuff like that.
Right, right.
That might be a way of doing it, and you already kind of know what the characters, who they are, and then you get the dynamics of them working together. That could work.
Hmm.
I mean,
And
some things are better in shows or series, and some things are certainly better as a movie, as standalone.
mhm,
Um, and some things can cross over both ways, but that's rare,
mhm.
because I think they try to turn a movie into a TV show, which doesn't work the same way, and vice versa. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I will say this: I'm glad that they didn't do the whole the team is mad at each other and they break up and then they come back at the end or whatever. I'm glad
Right,
that thankfully they didn't do that.
right.
you know, um, I mean, they could have had a bit more team building, but I would just say like I'm thankful that they didn't do that trope that they usually do
Hmm.
in ensemble cast movies. Like thankfully they avoided that because I was like that would have been annoying. But but yeah, like I said, and I do agree. Like there are some really good scenes in here where it was just like, yeah, just that scene alone is good. But everything else, like I said, I liked a lot of the stuff that happened with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm just like, man,
Hmm.
I almost want him to have his own movie and everything. So, but yeah, I think I agree that a series would probably do it more justice than a movie would, um, just because you have so many characters.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching until the end, fellow Nerd Posse. If you stuck around this long, it means that we own your soul, and the only way to get it back is to click that subscribe button, leave a like or dislike, and comment down below. If you want to watch the full video, check us out on McBlamEntertainment.com, or for the audio version, just simply look us up on your favorite podcasting app. Follow us on social media, the links are in the description down below, and if you feel ever so kind, you can support us on Patreon or Subscribestar for as little as $1 a month and gain access to our Discord server where we talk about all sorts of nerdy stuff. Thanks again for watching, and depending on what time of day you're watching, have a good morning, have a good day, and have a good night, and we will see you in the next video.